Welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about the guardian in meditation. Now, most people do not have an experience of the guardian in meditation. Usually, this experience is referred to by those who have out-of-body experiences. But occasionally, meditators will meet this guardian-like dark presence, this fearful presence in meditation. So I want to give you a technique that will actually shrink the center of fear in your brain. And that's what you're encountering. So it's very, very fascinating. I want to give you a very practical technique that you can add to your repertoire before you step into meditation. And it's very best if this is done every single time before you go into meditation. It's very, very powerful, and it's a wonderful insurance policy for the yogi. So let's get into it. If you read a bunch of out-of-body experience books, you'll come across a wonderful description of meeting fear in the brain, and they call it the guardian. It's a wonderful encapsulation of what it is like to meet this fear. And so sometimes they will meet a dark angel, sometimes they'll just come into a very fearful experience, but all of this is them meeting the right amygdala inside of their experience. And if they pass through the guardian, if they get past the guardian, then they will have an out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experiences are very interesting because you're leaving behind one portion, one piece of the left brain, which job it is to say you are here in this body. You're leaving that behind, and you're using parts of your right brain in a different space. So it's a little bit of expansive. It's a little bit of freedom, and we're getting a taste of that freedom when we journey outside of this form and we say, I am that astral form floating around doing all of this. It's not a non-dual experience. We're not heading directly into the right brain, but we're using the right brain. So it's very, very kind of beautiful in that sense. Now, if you've never had an out-of-body experience and you would like to have one, very quickly, this is how you do it. You lay down in your bed, get totally relaxed. You have to be almost dead tired because we need the alpha, the theta, and the delta brainwaves to come online to help facilitate the experience, okay? And then while you're laying there, just kind of rock back and forth or rock your head back and forth, and then stop and try and feel the sensation as if it's still going. Do that back and forth until you start to feel that the sensation is still happening even though you are still. And when that sensation is now outside of your body, now you are identifying with a movement which is not taking place in the physical form. Do you see it? That's the moment which enables the out-of-body experience. You start to identify not with the body, but with the movement which is now happening outside of the body. That will enable an out-of-body experience. And especially if you fall asleep, we get a lot of that alpha, theta, delta, and it's going to facilitate this ability to let go of our form much more easily, and you might find yourself floating outside of your body. And to do that, you're using the right hippocampus, that expansive. You're using a bit of it. You're using a bit of that expansiveness. Very, very cool. Now back to the fear. Some yogis, when they get very deep into silence, what is silence? Silence is the right brain. It is absolutely the domain of the right brain and the higher self. Silence, okay? Very, very powerful. There's a beautiful quote from Osho: silence is the only truth. Everything else is a lie. As we get into that silence, as we get very powerfully into the right brain, there's a chance that we will also touch on the right amygdala, which is right on top of the right hippocampus. It's a little almond-shaped part of the brain right on top of the right hippocampus. So as we stimulate silence and expansiveness, which is the right brain, we also have a possibility of touching on the center of fear. When you touch on this fear, you can feel great fear, you can feel a great sense of doom possibly, or you might have a dark visitation from a dark angel. All of these are possible. Ramana Maharishi, just before he had his samadhi, came into the feeling of a great doom, and instead of running away from it, he dove into it even deeper. And so he moved past that fear and he went into a very, very deep experience or samadhi. One of my students had night terrors when he was a kid, and he started doing the Kriya Yoga, and all of a sudden he started getting night terrors again. He was going deep into the right brain, and he started awakening the right amygdala just like when he was a child. And he called me up, he said, "What do I do?" I said, "I want you to stop all of your meditations, all of your Kriya Yoga. I want you to stop it for up to a month. And I only want you to do this one technique, which is Navi Kriya." He did Navi for 1 week, and the problem completely disappeared and did not come back. The Navi Technique is absolutely powerful. It's a fantastic insurance policy because as you do the Navi Kriya, you are using fear less. And whatever you use less in the brain, it actually shrinks. And what you use more, it grows. And so what you're left with is pure expansion, which gets very, very large in the brain, and the fear shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And this process of shrinking fear is so powerful in the Kriya Yoga program that Lahir Mashaya would quote from the Bhagavad Gita, even a little practice of this Dharma, this Kriya Yoga that he was giving to them, even a little practice of this Dharma will save you from the great fear. The great fear, the fear of the right amygdala, the fear that's built into everybody's brain, but we want to shrink it for our purposes in meditation. That's our insurance policy. And the Navi Kriya, that's not all it's doing, but this is one of the primary things that it's doing. And if you do it before your meditations as a preliminary technique, myself and my students have found that it helps the rest of the techniques, it helps the rest of your meditation by 50%. It's really, really very, very helpful. So I hope you fall in love with it as I have. This is Navi Kriya. It's very simple. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put ourselves into the neck lock. And by doing that, we put pressure on the 2 carotid sinuses. And that will actually lower our heart rate and our breath rate a little bit. Just putting ourselves into the neck lock. And then we're going to put our mind onto the 3rd chakra, right about where your belly button is. Just put your mind on the belly button, that's good enough. And now I'm going to mentally Om into the 3rd chakra. I might put my fingers together like this and put my thumbs together and put them on the 3rd chakra so that I have a physical feeling every time I Om into the 3rd chakra. That's very helpful. So I put myself in the neck lock and I Om, pressing into the 3rd chakra, and I Om mentally. So I'm going to say it out loud so you can hear it, but it goes like this. Om, Om, Om. And you press each time with the thumbs gently. It doesn't have to be vigorous. Just gently is good enough. Now, once you've done that a number of times, you might only do it mentally and relax your arms completely. That's great. Now it's a Raja Yoga technique because it's just mental, right? We're just doing mental work. but still, we need that pressure coming in. So you need to imagine that the Om is on the front and it's moving into the body about 1.5 to 2 inches into the gut. And that makes the Navi correct. And I want to do this 100 times approximately. So I'm going to chant Om, imagining that Om is entering in from the front 100 times. All right? To get an idea of what 100 is, you might count 1, 2, 3, and go up to 100. Feel what 100 feels like, and then the next time, just do Om. Om, 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 into the third chakra mentally, right? After the 100 in the front, I'm going to reverse the neck lock very gently. I'm going to put the head all the way back. And now I'm going to put my attention on the back side of the third chakra. So directly behind the belly button, through the spine, all the way on the back, putting my mind on that point. And now I'm going to Om into that third chakra from the back. Om, Om. And for some yogis who are very sensitive, it's possible that you can feel a kind of cool trickle coming down the spine, going into the third chakra. From the medulla, it's trickling down the spine, going into the third chakra. If you don't feel that, don't worry about it. Just put your mind on the back side of the third chakra and chant Om into the chakra. You can also lace your fingers again, put your thumbs on that third chakra, and now press into the third chakra, the back of your spine, as you say it, Om, Om. Just put a little pressure, Om. And that physical action will help you to place your mind directly where you want it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful assister until you feel very confident in the location of the third chakra, and then you can just do it mentally and relax your arms, and now you have added relaxation in the technique. Very helpful. So the physical side is helpful, and then the relaxation is very helpful, and that makes it a little bit and a little bit and a little bit deeper. Right? That's what we want. We're going to do that on the back of the spine 25 times. And that's the whole technique. That's one round of Navi. You could do more, but one is probably enough in the beginning. So it's 100 in the front and 25 in the back. So that's a 1-to-4 ratio, right? 100 in the front, 25 in the back. Go into the neck lock, 100 ohms into the front, reverse the neck lock, 25 ohms in the back. The right amygdala projects itself, the center of fear projects itself down into your gut, into your third chakra. And if you have felt a wave of fear, as we all have somewhere in our lives, right? We felt this wave of fear go through us, and our core tightened up, or it froze, or it got very cold, right? That cold pit of fear in our stomachs. We've all felt that. That is the projection of the right amygdala. And that is what we are disrupting in this technique. We're oming on the front side, then we om on the back side. There are other benefits that are taking place with this technique, but the main one I want to zero in on right now is that it is disrupting that fear, and it is causing it to disperse. By doing that day after day after day, we are using less fear in our lives, less anxiety, less worry. Doesn't mean you can't worry. It doesn't mean you can't have fear, can't have anxiety. It means there are less of it. And day after day after day of having less fear and anxiety, we will use the right amygdala less, which means it will physically shrink in your brain, the very center of fear in your life. I mean, if there was one thing that you would want to be free of, wouldn't it be fear? I mean, what would hold you back in your life from all the things you want to do, from all the adventures you want to go on, all the things you would like to accomplish? What's the one thing holding you back? Fear. What's the one thing that you would like to shrink in your brain? Fear. What's the one thing you would like to grow? Bliss, left amygdala. Expansion, right hippocampus. Those are the things we want. We want less fear, and this is the technique to do it. It is amazing. Kriya Yoga is the most amazing technology I've ever seen. It's the most complete and whole system for meditation I've ever seen. That's why I teach it. I love it. That's why I've basically dedicated my life to it. The Kriya Yogi does this technique every single time he sits down to meditate. So I do my Mahamudra stretching, then I do my Navi, then I do my Kriya, and most importantly, then I expand. I let go and I expand. And that, in a nutshell, is the genius of the Kriya system right there. Try it out. Try it for a week. See if you can notice any shrinking of worry and fear in your life in 1 week after trying it, right? Try it every day. You don't have to take forever. It's a preliminary technique. It's not meant to take forever, so don't torture yourself with it. Some of my students, they're like, I don't like doing these preliminary exercises. I want to jump right into the heart of the practice, right? And so I tell them, that's fine. Go do the Mahamudra stretching and do the Navi Kriya. Do it as fast as you can. But do it. Do it a little bit. Give it its pittance. And you'll find it's magical over time. So don't torture yourself. Do it very quickly and easily. See what it does for you. It's so powerful. Practice one day without it, then practice with it. So one day you might do the Mahamudra stretching, which, by the way, the video for that is Heart Health Through Stretching, okay? That's the video where I explain Mahamudra. Then do a little bit of this Navi Kriya, and then do heart rate variability resonance. Try that program. See how much deeper you get because you did those 2 little preliminary exercises. Next day, just do the heart rate variability resonant breathing and see what the difference is. Go back and forth, and test for yourself. Why are the Kriya Yogis saying that this is very good to do before my deep meditation? So I hope you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you.